All right, so as we head towards the end of another month, I've got another closest clone video for you all today. So this is going to be the closest clones of January 2024. Just to start the video off, I have from F.A. Paris Fragrance World Paradox Tribute. And this is going to be their take on BDK's Tabac Rose. When I did my side-by-side comparison between this and the BDK, definitely found that, this was at least about 95% close to BDK's Tabac Rose. Definitely the BDK, it had, slightly more sort of richer notes in my opinion than what this does. Or at least, the way that they came across the notes in the two fragrances, the BDK came off as being slightly more richer. Obviously it had, a little bit more sort of projection and performance. And I would also say, this particular fragrance, even though, it's not as strong as what the BDK is, this is still a pretty strong fragrance. Pretty much it's a very sort of rose forward fragrance. I would say that I don't really get too much tobacco from this, but pretty much, when you first spray it on, you get a lot of that plum, you get a lot of the rose. And then in the dry down, you do start to get more so sort of like cinnamon and patchouli. What I will say is, especially in the dry down, this to me smells like, I would say Shaghaf Oud from Swiss Arabian. If you were to take out the oud and the honey and basically replace them with rose and plum, that's, I would say, probably the easiest way for me to kind of describe what this is similar to, or, kind of give you an idea of what the fragrance smells like. So not saying that, these two smell super alike, but I would say this is mainly the fragrance that this, particular scent DNA reminds me of. All right. So definitely, if you're looking for a really good alternative to BDK's Tabac Rose, then I would say this is probably going to be your best choice. And again, this is Paradox Tribute from F.A. Paris Fragrance World. All right, so the next fragrance on the list, I've been talking about this one a lot. And I mean, as of right now, I feel like this one doesn't quite have the, I would say, the hype that the Maison Alhambra version does. But in my opinion, this one is better. And this is going to be from Fragrance World. This is L'Infinite, and this is part of their Jack Yves line. So this is going to be their take on Louis Vuitton's L'Immensité. And I mean, just smelling the two side by side, I feel like this is probably like as close, of a clone as you can possibly get. Definitely, in the opening spray for, I would say, probably like the first 30 seconds to a minute or so, I feel like the way that the citruses come across in the Louis Vuitton, they do seem to be a little bit brighter, a little bit more so kind of like on the sparkly side. But, I would say pretty much after that point, the two fragrances are for the most part indistinguishable. This one has that same sort of soft, watery, herbal feel that, a L'Immensité has. And it doesn't have like an overemphasis on like that ginger spice note the way that the Maison Alhambra does. Also, this fragrance doesn't really fall apart in the dry down. Once the amber note starts to kick in, this to me, it basically, it nails all facets of Louis Vuitton's Immensité. And I mean, for the price that you can get this at, which is normally, I think, around $40 at Banadier Fragrance, I think that this is a absolutely great choice if you're looking for an alternative to Louis Vuitton's Immensité. So definitely check this one out, man. Again, this is L'Infinite from Fragrance World. All right, so another Louis Vuitton clone is also on this list here, and this is going to be from the house of Luciano, and this is Luciano's California Vibe. So California Vibe, this is going to be their take on California Dream from Louis Vuitton. So just did a side-by-side comparison video between this and California Dream. And as I stated in that video, I would say this is probably going to be one of the best, sort of Louis Vuitton clones that I've smelled. Just from the opening spray, I mean, this smelled almost identical to the Louis Vuitton. I would say that, this is at least anywhere from probably 95 to about 97% close, I would say, at the very least. This is like almost as close to like a 1-to-1 clone pretty much as you can get. Now, once you start to get into the dry down, I feel like this does fade away a little bit sooner than what the Louis Vuitton does. That the Louis Vuitton definitely, in my opinion, it does have a little bit more staying power. I get about 6 to 7 hours with this one, whereas with the Louis Vuitton, it's more like around 8 to 9. And I feel like you get a little bit more of those sort of bass notes kind of present there in that far dry down than what you do with this one. But I mean, again, at least for 6 to 7 hours, this pretty much is going to smell for the most part just like, the original fragrance. And I mean, the quality is, I would say, right up there pretty much with the original. No sort of alcohol blast or anything like that in the opening. So I'm really happy with this one. And again, this is going to be Luciano's California Vibe. All right, so again, we have another Louis Vuitton clone, and this is also going to be from the house of Luciano, and this is Luciano's Sunset Swim. All right, so I just did a comparison video between this one, the Soak Sun exclusive from Grandeur Elite, and then the other fragrance from Aston. I believe it's like I can't remember what it's called. But this particular fragrance, this one, in my opinion, was the most sort of natural smelling out of all of those fragrances. Now, the Soak Sun exclusive from Grandeur Elite, that one had a little bit more strength, but that fragrance was also, I would say noticeably sweeter than what this Luciano is. The Luciano definitely, I would say, has the most sort of natural smelling smell when compared to the original. I would say the only thing really that this one is actually missing is it's missing just a little bit of, kind of like that fizziness that you get from Afternoon Swim, or at least that I get from Afternoon Swim when I wear that fragrance. So, I mean, other than that, I would say this is at least about probably 90 to 95% close to Louis Vuitton's Afternoon Swim. And at least so far, I would say this is probably going to be the one that I would recommend to people. Now, I do have the Paris Corner clone coming in, I believe it's Quatre or something like that, from their North Stag line. So we'll have to see, if that one is able to come closer to the original from Louis Vuitton. But at least so far, out of all the ones that I've smelled, this one is the one that I would say that I probably prefer out of all of them. All right. So again, this one is going to be Luciano's Sunset Swim. All right, and then the last fragrance, this is going to be one of the newest ones that I just got, and this is going to be Swiss Arabian Shaghaf Oud Tonka. All right, and so this is going to be their take on BDK's Velvet Tonka. As stated in the comparison video, this is going to be at least about 90% close, pretty much, to Velvet Tonka. I would say this is just slightly sweeter than the BDK fragrance, and as a result of that, it is slightly less aromatic, but I would say the differences are pretty minimal. The performance on this is absolutely amazing. Pretty much if you spray this on your clothes, it's going to be on your clothes until you wash them, and pretty much, I mean, you're definitely going to get into the next day when spraying it on skin. So this is a very nice fragrance. Like I mentioned before, I would say pretty much if you want to kind of know what this fragrance sort of smells like, if you're familiar with like Guerlain's Tonka Imperial, I would say that's the fragrance that this most kind of reminds me of. Doesn't smell exactly the same as that fragrance. I would say Tonka Imperial definitely is a lot more sort of like I would say it's a lot more aromatic. Definitely has more of like an emphasis on tonka bean, whereas this one is, kind of like I would say 50-50 between like almond and tonka bean. So it definitely has a slightly different feel, but I would say if you're familiar with the way that Tonka Imperial smells and you actually like that fragrance, then you'll like this one as well. All right. So overall, like I said, this one is about 90% close pretty much to the BDK Velvet Tonka. So definitely if you're looking for a cheaper alternative of that fragrance, then I would say absolutely take a look at Shaghaf Oud Tonka from Swiss Arabian. All right. So that is the list. That's the top 5 closest clones of January 2024. Definitely let me know in the comments if you've smelled any of these clones, and if so, have you smelled the originals? And what do you think? How close are these clones to the original fragrances? All right, so let me know in the comments. Also, leave a like on the video as well. And if you're brand new, do me a favor, go ahead and subscribe to the channel. And again, that's Jamar from Vegas Scents. I'll see y'all in the next video.